Guys, something's happening. Many of you have already probably heard of this if you've been on Twitter all day, but Nicole Shanahan has kind of given us some hints that they're considering dropping out and endorsing President Trump. Okay. Now, I want us to go into this conversation just for a bit. I want us to watch a couple clips here, but I also want us to see this clip together of Trump discussing what he would essentially, um, like what he does with this information, right? Because he does respond and he gives his interpretation why he wants RFK Jr. to be part of his team, what he would do for him, and all that. So I want us to look into this. Also, we're gonna look a little bit into this article that was posted by CNN covering this same exact topic. So let's go ahead and watch this. Now, to start off, I do want to say that this is a fairly emotional clip. I want us to understand how emotional this is, especially coming from Nicole Shanahan's perspective. Now, it's so easy. Before you guys go to the comment section, like I beg you to go and watch this video. Right now, we're not gonna watch the whole thing. We're gonna watch a few minutes of it. But I want you to go ahead and really try to understand her perspective on why she says the things that she says. Because I know it's so easy for us to say, like, "Oh, just stay in. Like, come on, go until the end." But I'm telling you, she has some really deep thoughts here, okay? And I would say that they're all valid. They really are. So, let's go ahead and let's watch this.
All right, there were rumors going around that RFK was in talks with Trump, that he was in talks with the Harris camp for a potential endorsement to either of them if they could give him, I presume, a spot in one of their cabinets. Is there any truth to it? Would love to hear about that.
Definitely not in talks with Harris. Definitely never have brought up this idea of an endorsement with Harris. Definitely have never brought up a cabinet position with Harris. So those are the MSN just taking something and spinning it in a way that makes their chosen political group look good.
Now, I will add, I think it's interesting how she doesn't say that she's had those conversations with Trump. Like this is very specifically just for Harris. Like we've never had those conversations with Harris. Okay, we've never had this conversation with the Democratic Party. So I do think that's one interesting takeaway that kind of suggests, at least to me, that whenever we saw that leaked video with President Trump and Mr. Kennedy, whenever they're kind of going, they weren't really going back and forth. You see Kennedy in that leaked video say yes just a couple times, but it did seem that that might have been part of the conversation that they were having. But they never really acknowledged if they did talk about that stuff. So this kind of to me proves that that was part of the conversation. Probably like how long ago was that? Like a month ago. So but already, honestly, this is an entirely different election now 1 month later, okay? This is an entirely different election. The stakes are significantly higher, and we are now almost 75 days away from casting these ballots. So, I think the temperature is really, really high right now between these candidates. So, I'm definitely understanding why they're in this position. Now I want to skip ahead right just a little bit. And I love this posture. I really love Nicole Shanahan's posture here. Check this out.
And what might work. We've open sourced our platform very proudly. And
And to me, like we talk a lot about the marketplace of ideas here, right? And I love how Nicole Shanahan is just so for the ideas. And I'll continue this thought after this clip.
I will say that Trump has taken genuine, sincere interest in our policies around chronic disease. He takes it seriously. For that reason, I think it behooves us to sit and see if we can actually make some real change. And if that is a unity party, I think that it is something that we absolutely owe to the American public.
Wow. I'm like almost getting I'm like almost tearing up over here watching this because I feel like this is such a selfless decision for Nicole Shanahan to just come on this podcast, speak these words because right here, you know what I see? I see someone who genuinely is so passionate about being part of healing this country. And she is so passionate about the future and she wants to actually create change. And she knows that in order to do that, it might not be from her campaign, but she's looking at this possibility of still being of still letting the ideas breathe one way or another. That to me is selfless because she cares more about this country. She cares more about this country than about winning. Okay? And I think that is really really important. So, I also want us to skip a little bit ahead again. Again, you can watch this whole thing. I'm gonna have it linked up, but we don't have a we don't have a lot of time here. So I really just want us to look a little bit of these clips just to give you a little bit some of perspective on where she's at.
Hey, when would you guys make that decision? There's obviously huge concerns that you guys are a spoiler candidate. And so I understand there'll be a public facing message, but I'm very curious how you guys think about that.
We did not start this campaign. I did not put in tens of millions of dollars to be a spoiler candidate.
I really, really believe her when she says that. I also think it's different coming from it's different hearing about the finances from Shanahan and then Kennedy just because we all know at this point like she was such a large driving force of of the campaign finances because they're able to self-fund and we all know she's massively wealthy. But even then, like tens of millions of dollars, that is not small at all. And whenever it is your money, you are so attached to. But even then, she cares so deeply about the vision of this country that she's still able to put her money where her mouth is. And I don't know. I just see this as so selfless. I'll keep going.
I put in tens of $1,000,000 to win,
Hmm.
to fix this country, to do the right thing. I will say that Clear Choice, this PAC, this DNC aligned PAC that was created specifically to take us out, has spent millions of dollars to take us out. They have unfortunately turned us into a spoiler.
Hmm.
Wow. Now, real quick, I also wanted to I wrote a tweet after I saw this, and this was my tweet. I wrote, "You can tell how genuinely heartbroken Nicole Shanahan is as she shares her thoughts here. And they're all completely valid. There are external forces that have poured millions of dollars into suffocating this campaign. The fact that they're still here speaks volumes." And I just want to add that if you were to put in any other candidates in this position, right, aside from Kennedy and Shanahan, I do not think that they would be here, like, to this day in this position, okay? But the fact that Shanahan is still well, still thriving, still believes in this future, I think is extraordinary. And whatever happens here, like, I believe that her story, her journey, especially in politics, is really just getting started because, she's already had massive change in different worlds, but I believe and she actually talks about how she wants to or that she would consider, running for governor in the state of California. She discusses that in this clip, and I just wanna say right here, right now, like, absolutely. I would 100% vote for you. I think that's an incredible idea, and starting in a state like California, your impact will move across the country, and I do think you could eventually try to have another run at this, right? 100%. You can new summit, Okay, because everyone talks about Gavin Newsom running for president one day, maybe 2028. We don't know, but she could Newsom it. I do see that, and it would be so fitting to see California with an independent governor. I would love that so much. All right, let's keep going.
And we don't want to be a spoiler. We wanted to win. We wanted a fair shot. The DNC made that impossible for us. They have banned us, shadow banned us, kept us off stages, manipulated polls, used lawfare against us, sued us in every possible state. They've even planted insiders into our campaign to
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw that. I didn't make a video about that, but the Democratic Party literally hired people to be part of their campaign and to almost try to be a virus in it to infect their campaign from the inside. Like, how devious is that? How is that okay? How is this the Democratic Party? That should worry you. That should trouble you.
disrupt it and to create actual legal issues for us. I mean, the extent by which the sabotage they've unleashed upon us, it's mind blowing. I mean, we're still learning new ways that they have sabotaged us. Um, I really wanted a fair shot at this election, and I believed in the America that a little girl, pledged an allegiance to. And that is not where we are today, and it's not because of the Republican Party taking us out. It is exclusively because of the Democratic Party taking us out, and I am so disappointed I ever helped them.
Wow. They wanted a fair shot. The Democratic Party, that is supposed to be the party of the people and uplifting the voices in our democracy, that Democratic Party has single-handedly suffocated this campaign. And I want to make sure every person who's watching this knows that. Okay. So there's one other part that I want to play here. Let's see. And then we're going to watch what Trump has to say about all this. Okay.
Question. We are not spoilers. That was never our motivation. We really wanted a fair shot. I think had we had a fair shot, we would have won. I still would love to see in the last 80 days of this election some miracle play out where we get a chance to debate. I don't think they're going to let us. And,
Wow.
given this, I think we are taking a very serious look at making sure that the people that have corrupted our fair and free democracy do not end up in office in November. It's hard. I mean, it's really hard, Tom, to say these words.
Yeah, I'm so deeply appreciative of her strength in this interview. This is tough because to be a vice presidential candidate, to come on, this podcast to almost talk about your campaign, every other candidate would have probably lied to you and said, "We're gonna win this thing. We've never been stronger before. This is where we're at. We're on all the states now. We're going to be at least, and I'm just so excited. I'm pumped. Yes, vote for me, Kennedy Shanahan, 100% to the moon." But Shanahan here is just keeping it 100% real. She's not lying to you. She's not giving you any fluff pieces. This is just completely raw, authentic, and she's just telling you the truth. I feel just so much sincerity whenever I'm hearing these words, and I believe you should too. And Tom asks Tom asks one other question, that I wanna share, which is there any path to victory? Okay? Is there any path to victory for the Kennedy campaign?
Do you guys see any path to victory at this point?
I mean, technically, if we can stay on the ballots.
Whenever I first heard this, I that told me that we were in trouble. When someone says technically, you just know that there's a lot of gray, right? And you just know that almost anything can happen. It's definitely not an assurance, but also this is what I like about it. This is what I like about Shanahan is she is just keeping it 100% real. She is fighting for the life of this campaign. She's fighting for her life, okay? And in this interview that we just had with Larry Sharp, we talk about it's the person who goes through the wall who gets bloody. They might not be able to walk afterwards, right? And I feel like here I'm seeing that Nicole has been going through walls. She's been going through ceilings, and I believe she's experienced the blood firsthand, as probably Kennedy has too. Of course, he has. And we're still seeing her here. She's still going on this podcast. She's still telling the truth. She's she's earned a lot of respect from me today. I'll tell you the truth.
We've qualified for all the ballots now, which is like an enormous feat. Like
Mm.
it's you don't understand. The system was designed to after Ross Perot to keep this from ever happening again, and we accomplished it. So technically, we could win. We could absolutely win still. The problem is if you censor a candidate as we've been censored, people don't get a chance to even hear us.
Yeah, and I've had this conversation many, many times with so many different people. They don't know about RFK. It's not that they don't like Kennedy, not at all. It's not that they have some beef against Kennedy and Shanahan. It's that they just simply don't know. They are fighting for discoverability, and it's so tragic to see. I really didn't think things would turn out this way, but wow.
Um, there are things that could happen that would still allow us to win in November, even in this environment. And it could, any, you can't predict the number of variables.
Again, she's just keeping it real. She's just telling the truth, and I appreciate that so much. Now, I want us to go into what Trump has to say about all of this because again, their posture is it's looking like they're preparing to endorse President Trump. Okay, I first saw this from Benny Johnson in this tweet. He wrote, breaking, Trump would be open to RFK Jr. playing a role in his administration if he drops out of the race and endorses him. And a video was shared by Forbes breaking news. Now, check this out. This is really surprising.
Very dangerous people. Can I ask you about RFK? Because just moments ago, his running mate said that they were considering endorsing you. Have you considered him for a role in the administration, and what role would that be?
Well, we haven't, but I would love that endorsement because I've always liked him.
Would you also consider putting him in the administration?
You're asking me a very unusual question. I haven't been asked that question yet. I like him a lot. I respect him a lot. I probably would if something like that would happen. He's
There we go. He probably would consider him for a position in his cabinet if RFK Jr. were to drop the race and endorse him. Now, I know that's not what a lot of people want to hear. You guys don't want to hear about RFK dropping out, but if there is some sort of compromise in the future, I think you should be watching this with an open mind. Okay, before you run to the comment sections, before you act like a keyboard warrior, let's just understand some perspectives here, okay?
a very different kind of a guy, very smart guy. And yeah, I would be honored by that endorsement. Certainly, we got a great endorsement from Elon Musk.
Wow. So there you have it. President Trump saying that he would absolutely consider it and that essentially saying that there is a spot for Kennedy Jr. on his cabinet. I think that is I think that's monumental And I also want us to touch on this poll that we did. Now, again, this is like 100% like not a scientific poll at all. If you could call polls scientific, but here I did think it was interesting how there seems to be more of a draw from Kennedy and Trump than Kennedy and Harris. I do think Kennedy and Trump are more in alignment on a wide variety of policies, and I do like to see it. And the problem again becomes that Kennedy could essentially act as a spoiler, right? Like if there's a world where he doesn't actually end up, you know, getting 270 or even in the contingent election, if that were to even happen, right? There's so many different variables, as Shanahan said. And I don't know. I do think it's an interesting conversation to have. And honestly, to hear all of this be spoken or and shared by Shanahan, I think should tell you that like if Nicole Shanahan is having these doubts, if you could call them doubts, right? Because to me, I think she's just speaking her mind. Okay. But I'm gonna partially interpret them as doubts. Okay. That's my personal perspective. I'm gonna interpret them as at least some slight doubts. And if your vice presidential candidate is having these doubts, I think you should strongly be considering them. You should definitely be understanding their perspective because at the end of the day, they probably have a better understanding of their campaign and their movement and their people than me or you have. Okay. I want to be really clear on that because, it's easy for me to say, oh, you guys should be doing this, right? Or it's easy for me to give out my suggestions, or it's easy for me to say, you know what, guys, there's a ton of people. You guys could win this thing. It's easy for me to say that. I think it's extraordinarily difficult for you to actually look at the deep truth of where this campaign is at this point in the race and to see if there isn't a possibility of victory, then what is the compromise? What is an alternative victory, right? Is the alternative victory that we're going to go ahead and tackle chronic disease on day 1? Is it gonna be that Kennedy's gonna have a place on the cabinet, right? Is it gonna be that he's gonna be in charge of X, Y, and Z? Is that the compromise? Okay. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm really interested in this conversation, and I'm just trying to be very empathetic towards it, and I'd love to know where you guys are at this point of at this point of the conversation, because I know a lot of people aren't so excited about this news. I know a lot of people feel betrayed when they hear this news, and I hear you. I understand you. All I'm asking is that you try to take this information with an open mind, an open heart. I know a lot of this could feel personal. I understand, but yeah, I hope I want to know where your perspective is today. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching and listening. I appreciate your time so much, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to support what we're building here, please like and subscribe. It means a lot, and it really helps us out. And if you want to see even more content from me, make sure to follow me on Instagram. I'm going to be sharing a lot more on there. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.